All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my review for this week's episode of The Walking Dead Season 6, which was, of course, Episode 10, The Next World. And spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen The Next World yet, you're definitely going to want to watch it before you watch my review. So this episode, it kind of went a lot of how I expected it to go with regards to the pacing and kind of what we saw. So coming up off of No Way Out, even watching No Way Out again, because it's just so amazing before this, because they played it right before on AMC. No Way Out was just an insane episode, a heavy climactic episode for the first part of the Alexandria storyline with the Alexandria characters. Coming up off of that, The Next World, we got an episode that felt to me a lot like the episode after, from way back in season 4, where you have, after the governor attacks, and then you've got kind of what happens after. You've got them kind of recuperating, and then you've got Michonne, who meets back up with Carl and Rick at the end, and they're very happy to see that. So we've been talking about this for about 2 years now. Yeah, because season 4 to 6, about 2 years. I may have even done videos on it earlier, which is, because in the Walking Dead television series, and we'll do an individual video just on this, you don't have Andrea. In the comic book series, Andrea and Rick are together after, a good amount of time because they form a really strong relationship that they were together, surviving together all those through all those trials and tribulations as they went through, each issue, each trade, every year or months, and that they got together. TV series, of course, version of Andrea is much different. She sleeps with Shane. She sleeps with the governor. She's getting a little busy. It wouldn't make sense, at that point to have her and Rick, hook up. People probably wouldn't like it, and it'd be a bit weird. But you have Michonne. If you think way back to their first kind of meeting, Rick meets her. You've got Carl there, and she kind of is at the fence and stuff with the prison. And he's not sure what to think of her, but he gives her a chance, and they kind of seem to hate each other at first. And, this episode was great in that we finally got to see, this is the biggest takeaway from the episode, a romantic partner for Rick. We saw it, kind of a spark of it with Jesse, but of course she's one of the new characters from Alexandria, and it does take time to form bonds like that. So for this one, I really like this, that they swapped out Andrea for Michonne in this way. They've kind of remixed it and thrown us through a little bit of a different, loop from the comic book storyline, which is great to see, I think, Rick and Michonne together. Because you think realistically, why wouldn't they? Michonne is saved, Rick and Carl so many times. She's one of the closest members of the entire group to Rick. And, Deanna asked her what she wants, and apparently she wants Rick. So it's good. So racist comments not far. It's going to happen. We'll talk about it more in a video. People are a little bit weirded out when you have people of two different races. I can tell you about this myself. Personal experience, because, of course, I'm Caucasian, and, Jess, my wife, is Indian. So it's something that some people are just not accepting of that, unfortunately, even in today's world. You do still have people that are racist. Like, oh, she's black, he's white, this kind of deal. Like I said, I've dealt with it personally in my own experience in my own life, and it's kind of sad that, you still have people that look at people differently just because of the color of their skin or their nationality or this kind of thing. But it's, even in the modern world, it happens a lot. So we'll talk more about it in a video where we just talk about the Michonne, or however you want to say it, Rick and Michonne. I loved it. I thought it was great. We've been talking about it for a long time. We thought, why wouldn't they? If you think about it realistically, you think that they would. Michonne fit as a fiddle, right? She's strong. She's tough. She's not a damsel in distress kind of character. She's definitely somebody that would make for a good mate, I would think. Protective of Carl, close to the... Yeah, it's just, what does she want? Judith and everything. Yeah, it just makes perfect sense for me. So I liked it a lot. I thought that was the best part of the episode for sure at the end. And then, okay, so that's that. We'll talk more about that in its own video. Really love to see that. That was great to see for Rick. A long time coming, because it's been forever in the TV series since she's had, a romantic partner. It seemed like with Jesse it might be, but then, of course, she doesn't make it. So... And you got the kids mixed in there too. Plus, you would think that Rick over time has a stronger bond, from the point where they go from really good friends to, romantic partners at this point. So that's the best part of the episode for The Next World for me. This one was directed by Carrie Scoglin. There's two other things basically that the episode is made of. It's basically I would say three major things that happen in this episode. You have that. you have the meeting of our new character Jesus, who they changed his last name. Who I thought that makes sense. Roviat or whatever. I got to hear it again and how he said it. But they definitely changed his last name unless he gave a fake name. And why would you give a fake name if you're going to give a real first name? Last name doesn't make sense. So they changed his last name for the TV series. Makes a lot of sense because in the comic book series his name is Monroe, which is very confusing because in this episode, our third thing that we have that happens. We have Deanna as a zombie, so Deanna Monroe as a zombie. Makes sense they would change Jesus' last name. And you have Spencer, who's been going out for a while, I guess, trying to track her down, and finally, is able to, and maybe finally work up the courage to put her down. And Michonne helps him do so. See, Michonne's awesome. So those are basically the three things of the episode. So those are my thoughts on the Michonne and Rick thing. Loved it. Thought it was great. Probably the best part of the episode. Deanna stuff was pretty good. It was pretty touching, a little bit emotional to see. I thought that she looked good as a zombie. Everything looked good there, and it was pretty emotional for Spencer to have to do that. Carl, of course, in there too, and Enid, which was good stuff too. So it worked out okay. It wasn't like a reveal like a Sophie in the Barn type deal. That was well set up, and that was something special. But you can't really have more than you can't really have two of those. This one was just kind of an emotional show, not really a climactic mid-season finale type show, something big like that was led up to for a while. But it was still good. So that's the second part, and then. The other one, of course, with Jesus. By the way, it looks like there's a time skip in this one, which is cool. I wasn't sure if there was going to be a time skip. I mean, it makes sense, but I kind of would like to see them kind of healing after, the events of No Way Out, but they decide to kind of skip over it. I mean, we've kind of seen that before. If you think about, what happened after the governor attacks and that, you see it instantly afterwards. Rick is all injured, and Carl, hey, this is I did a review for the Australians earlier. It's fun when they're walking and stuff. So we've seen that. So maybe in effort to avoid feeling any kind of repetitiveness at all, they decided to put in a time skip, and it worked out well. It felt different from anything in the past, and reinvent, as Scott Gimple says, they reinvent the show every 8 episodes. For this one, you have 9 because they had, I guess, maybe the first half had a little bit more than they thought it would have, so they stretched it, or they decided to put No Way Out, the great, climactic episode, at the premiere, which is good. But now we're getting into a new story arc, a new story, like a new trade, so to speak, if you're talking comic book series. So yeah, man. So those are great. In terms of this director, Carrie Scoglin, like I said in my predictions video, this is the first episode, I think, she, I'm assuming it's a she, has directed for The Walking Dead. You can kind of tell, well, okay, so it wasn't horrible in terms of directing. There was a couple little things, a couple little nitpicks I had with it that didn't feel right for me. The first one is with Jesus, because he's, so the television series version of Jesus, right? Fast as hell. He's smaller than the comic book series version by quite a bit. He's quite a bit smaller than Daryl and Rick. So yeah, you would think, and I liked how they kind of worked this in too, that they kind of made him more sneaky than tough. Like he's able to fight them off unexpectedly, but then once they get a hold of him, you got a bigger guy like Rick or Daryl, get a hold of him, punch him or whatever, he's gonna go down just from the size difference and the strength. The difference in strength is going to be too much for him to overcome, just with technique and just with agility by itself, right? Because if you get a huge guy just grabs onto you, a guy who's twice your size, grabs onto you, that could be a big problem for you if you're if the guy's got way more strength than you. Looking at wrestling and all these different things, you'll see this, of course. So that was pretty good. But after they tie him up, he somehow manages to get on the roof, and I'm like, how would he be on the roof like that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like Rick ties him up, he leaves him there, and then he looks back in the rear view as they drive off. It's like, how fast is this guy? He's just like the Flash. He's lightning speed, man. And he's like running around the truck when he falls down in the front. It's pretty funny. And then he's like running around, and Daryl gets, I'm going to kick this guy's ass. And he's running around, and he somehow manages to make it back inside, the car or the big truck, and then, almost kills Daryl, but is able to steal the keys, is able to steal Daryl's gun, and just really fast, really sneaky, really quick. So, but I guess that's to a degree it could make sense, because that's like his job, right? Like that's what he's been doing for the past 2 years, or at least a year or so, is that he's been, running around, he's been avoiding zombies. So compared to some of the guys like Daryl's been on the own too, but he doesn't really run too much. Compared to someone like that, I guess you could see him being quite agile and quite fast because he's doing it all the time for years, you know. And if you're doing anything like that, any job you do, if you're doing 8 to 10 hours a day, you're going to become significantly better than people who are doing something else at that particular task. So I guess in that regard, it can make sense. I just felt like him being on top of the truck was a little weird for me. It felt weird. It's like, is he on top of the It's like, how could he possibly get up there? I have no idea. It's just like, I don't know. That was a little comic booky for me and a little unrealistic, a little unbelievable for me. But that's it. Okay, so we'll give that a slide. Whatever. It is what it is. Aside from that, you know, you have the stuff with the food. You got Denise, and she wants to get stuff for Tara. You can see they're in a close relationship now. They seem to be living together. This kind of deal. So that's cool. You've got Michonne and Spencer, which is cool. You got Enid. She had a scene with Maggie there real quick. You got the gas station when he comes and steals his keys, makes it look all kosher, all nice and sneaky about it, and is able to get the firecrackers. Is able to run around, put down the firecrackers, run back unless you put them down prior, and then gets in the car, steals the truck. Paul Rivian, so our runner. So going on from there, I mean, I think that's pretty much what I want to say about the episode. So long, you pricks. This is funny. Give me the keys. So, you got to think they must be freaking getting tired of him, at this point. He's a bit like a road runner or something, in and out and back. So, in terms of score, this one's tough to score. Up until the end scene, I was like, this is going to be below an 8. It's probably going to be like a 7.8, something like that. But then with the final scene, I felt like that had a lot of emotional impact for the viewer because it's been a really long time coming. That's something really special to this episode, much like after, the scene when you see that. And it's been set up for a long time, since after. So we'll do an individual video talking about just that. I'm going to give this one an 8.2 as an episode because I did feel like some of the stuff with Jesus was a little bit kind of silly. A little bit kind of silly. But that said, it worked out good in the end anyway. It gets us to where we need to go for the story, and the truck sings. Just kind of silly. So, I like the episode. It wasn't an incredible episode or anything like that because, of course, we just had that one. This is going to be a bit of a slower episode, like they said in the honest trailers. You get a couple slow ones. You get a couple. I don't know if it was necessarily slow, but you get. They got to mix it up. They got to build to a new story. Next week, we'll talk about, of course, we'll do the predictions after this time on next week's episode, which is going to be directed by Michael E. Satrazemis. And I love his episodes. He really uses music well, in his, especially near the end of the episodes. So we'll talk about that in the predictions. Send me your questions for a Q&A, guys. We'll do the video independent, individual, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday this week, talking about, the Michonne-Rick relationship, what we think. And you guys can comment, everything, and get into the discussion. And, those are my thoughts on this week's episode. Nothing earth-shattering, but a pretty good episode. What we come to expect. Kind of, meets expectations, but not incredible or insane or anything like that. So write your comments below. Let me know what you guys thought. And send me the questions for the Q&A, and we'll do the predictions right after this. If you liked this video, you can thumb it up below. If you want to help support the channel, you can share, you can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, you want to see all my reviews every week for The Walking Dead until, eventually the series eventually ends. Hopefully in a while, because I love the show so much. You can subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one. See you guys again for the predictions in about an hour. As always, it's Trev. I'm saying peace.